What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here today, and today we are bringing you our Cal Golden Bears preview prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Help me reach that goal of 900 subscribers by the end of June. Check out the description where you'll find links to our podcast, website, Patreon page, ways to donate and help support the channel. Also, you can find our College Football Roundup channel as well as some of our friends who are in the channel, who are big supporters of the show, who we do a lot of videos with. So check all those guys out. Help support them as well. But let's go ahead and get started with today's video. So the Cal Golden Bears last year went 4-8 overall, 2-7 in the Pac-12. They were, let's see, they finished, where is it? Here we go. Overall scoring offensively, they were 10th in the Pac-12, 23.9 points per game. Rushing wise, they finished dead last in 12th with 96.5 rush yards per game. Passing wise, they were 268.1. That was 5th in the Pac-12 and 364.6 yards per game. Total yards per game finished 9th in the Pac-12. Now you look at defensively, they were allowing 27.8 points per game. That was 6th. Only problem with that is they're allowing about 3 or 4 points more per game than they were scoring. They were allowing 149.8 rush yards per game. That was 7th in the Pac-12. 279.5 pass yards per game. That was dead last in the Pac-12 at 12th. And total yards, they were allowed 429.3 yards per game. That was 9th. Only, let's see, Stanford, Arizona, and Colorado allowed more. Colorado allowed over 500 total yards per game. That's terrible. We'll get to them later on. But looking ahead to this year, so Cal, recruiting-wise, finished dead last in the Pac-12 at 12th overall recruiting. They were 87th nationally, so that is not good at all for for a Pac-12 school. You would expect more for out of them as a Pac-12 team. Like they're Power 5, they should be recruiting better than 87th. Not very good. They do return their head coach, Justin Wilcox. They return 8 starters on offense, but do lose their quarterback as he transferred into Louisville to play for his former head coach at Purdue, Jeff Brom, as he got the job there. They returned 10 starters on defense. So that's good numbers there returning-wise. The only problem is they weren't very good overall. The thing they were good at was the passing game, and they lose their quarterback. Now, can Sam Jackson V, who will fill in, who I should mention did not attempt a single pass last season, how will he play? He potentially could, as they do return, 2 of their top 3 receivers, including their best receiver from last year, and Jeremiah Hunter, who almost had 1,000 yards last year. So, Cal does return some production, but they're definitely gonna need to improve on both sides of the football if they expect to have any success this season. So let's go ahead and dive into their schedule and what I think that they will do. So they start the season off on the road against North Texas. I think they win this game. Little interesting that they're going on the road, but I do think that they're a better overall team than North Texas. I don't think this game needs much, discussion about it. But the first real test of the season will come when Auburn comes to Cal. I think Auburn is a little bit of a better team. This game is in Cal, so we'll see. I do think California will lose this game, although this is not a game that I think that they necessarily will lose. I think they will lose it, but I could definitely see them winning it. They have less to figure out early on in the season than Auburn's going to have, with a new quarterback, new head coach, new system, all this stuff that they're going through, and losing their best player in Tank Bigsby. as well, who basically carried their offense last season. So for Cal, it's definitely a winnable game. Definitely a winnable game for the Golden Bears, but I do think that they are not as good of a team as Auburn. Despite being at home, I do think that they will lose this game. Then they get Idaho at home. I think this is a win. Again, doesn't need much discussion. I think it's pretty obvious that Cal is a better team than the Vandals. They're just much more talented, especially being a Power 5 team. Much more talented, have better players, and maybe better coaching. I don't know. I know a lot of you Cal fans probably don't like Justin Wilcox, and this is probably gonna feel like his last season kind of going into it feels like that way for sure. Now, if they go out and win 7-8 games, make a bowl game, we'll see, but I doubt it. He's 30-36 in his 6 years at the school. So I don't think he's going to last much longer, but I do think he will pick up a win against Idaho. Then they go on the road against Washington. I think this is a loss. Washington is going to just blow Cal out of the water, I would imagine, although last year's game was pretty close. California only lost that game by a touchdown at home, 28-21. So we'll see. Cal did play a bunch of close games against some good teams last year. They lost to UCLA by a touchdown, lost to Washington, like I just mentioned, by a touchdown. They lost to USC by 6, lost at Notre Dame by a touchdown. So they played some close games against some good teams there. Really, the only game against a good team that they just got blown out against was Oregon. They lost that one 42-24. But I do think Washington will beat them by 2+ touchdowns this year around. It's at Washington. Washington's going to be a better team. Penix will be in his second year. So I think Washington wins this game pretty big over Cal. Then they get Arizona State at home. I think they win this game. I think Arizona State is in a worser spot than Cal is. I don't think either one of these two programs are in a very good spot, but I do think Arizona State is at the worser spot. Although they may have the better quarterback in Drew Pine. We'll have to see what Sam Jackson V, how he plays. Again, he didn't attempt a single pass last season. No quarterback other than their starter. I'm blanking on his name. What's the dude's name? Jack Plummer. That's his name, Jack Plummer. He attempted all of their passes from last season. So we'll have to see. The quarterback position for Cal is really up in the air, but I think that just overall they're the better team against Arizona State slightly, and I think given it being a home game, I'm giving them the advantage here. Then they get Oregon State at home. I think this is a loss. I think Oregon State is just a much more talented team. I think this is a potential top 20, top 25 team. I just don't think Cal has the talent to compete with a team like this. Then they go on the road to Utah. This is going to be a curb stomping of a game. Utah is going to crush Cal. Sorry for you Cal fans watching, but Utah is going to crush you. Cam Rising is just going to light your defense up, especially through the air. And like I mentioned earlier, that Cal finished dead last in passing defense last year. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't this year, to be honest. And Cam Rising's going to have a field day against this Cal defense, and it's at Utah. Utah is potentially the best defense in the Pac-12. So I think Utah is going to win this game by a lot. Then you get a much-needed bye week before you start a tough 2-game stretch here and go get USC at home. I think you lose this game, much like Cameron Rising did. Caleb Williams is going to have a huge game against you this time. But here's the dilemma with this game. I could potentially see Cal pulling off an upset in this one because USC's defense is so bad. I would imagine their defense is going to improve from what it was last year. How much is, to be seen. But if it doesn't, we saw how much Cal put up a fight in that game on the road at USC last year, losing by 6. I could see this game as a potential upset depending on, 1, how good Cal's offense is with the new quarterback, and 2, how much improved, if improved at all, USC's defense is. But I do give USC the win, and going into this game, I don't really think it's going to be very close. Then Cal gets Oregon on the road. I think this again is a loss. Oregon was the team that really put a whooping on you last year of the big schools, beating you 42-24. I think they win by about that same margin, if not more. Bo Nix in his second year, Dan Lanning in his second year as head coach there. Oregon will be slightly better than they were last year, and I think that they will beat Cal pretty easily. Then they get Washington State at home. This is a loss. This is one of those toss-up games for me. I could see either team winning this game, but I think Washington State is a slightly better team than Cal. I'm sure, some of you may disagree with me. Some of you may even agree with me. We'll see. But the biggest thing for me is Washington State returns quarterback Cameron Ward and running back Nakia Watson, who ran for about 800 yards last year. And so that is the biggest thing for me, is that Washington State returns their 1-2 punch in Cameron Ward and Nakia Watson, whereas Cal doesn't really, return. They do return Jaden Ott, who ran for 900 yards last year. They return Jeremiah Hunter, who had about 1,000 yards receiving last year. The problem for me is, what is the quarterback? I think Washington State is clearly more proven at the quarterback position, and so that's why I'm giving them the win. Then you go on the road to Stanford. I'm giving Cal the win here. As bad as Cal is, Stanford is much worse, much below them talent-wise, just everything. So I think Cal does get the win in this game, despite having to go on the road. I just think they're a much better team than Stanford is, and so again, I think that they'll win this game. Then they go on the road to UCLA to close out their season, and I think this is a loss. By this point, Dante Moore is going to have his feet set in, obviously, being, given it's the 12th game of the season, it's the end of the year, he's going to be settled in for sure. At this point, we're going to know what UCLA is. I think they're going to be pretty good with Dante Moore at quarterback, and I think UCLA is going to beat Cal, and I think they'll beat them by a little bit more than what they did last year. Last year, UCLA won on the road at Cal 35-28. I think this year they probably win by a similar margin, maybe 10, 14 points, something like that. But I do think UCLA gets the win over Cal. But that wraps up today's video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, check out the description for all of the stuff that you need to know to keep up with the channel, help support the channel, find this in other platforms, and check out some of our good friends. But I appreciate all of you guys watching, and we will see you guys next time.